And we are live once again. Sorry about that, folks. Good evening and welcome to Friday Night Tech Talk. I'm Mobile Geezer, which you're aware of if you're following me on the YouTube channel, but we simulcast on Facebook at the same time, either under Mobile Geezer or under George Hayes. So all three are simulcast at the same time. And if you're new here, we do this every week. We take some stories, some articles, and that are related to tech. And I picked some articles that I think other tech geeks like me might like, or I try to find the big story of the week as far as presentations. And I've only got one this week. But mostly I try to find stories that are interesting to us tech heads, but you won't see everywhere. So you probably wouldn't have heard about them. And if you're new here, please type something in the comments. Let us know you're here. Right now, there is nothing in the comments, so I don't know who's here as yet. So, meanwhile, I will show you a preview of what we're going to talk about. We have the show notes on my webpage, so I'll share that with you. So if you go to mobilegeezer.wordpress.com, click on today's date, you'll get just the show notes for tonight's show. I don't know if Ted will be joining us tonight, and last week Will joined us for a bit. He was kind of in and out. And of course, something miraculous might happen, and maybe even Michael joins us, but who knows? But most likely it's Ted most of the time when he has the time. He's down in Dallas, and Will's up in New Jersey. I'm kind of in the middle in Tennessee. Oh, and here's Eleanor. Hi, Eleanor, you're first in, and glad you're here, of course. All right, while we're here on my webpage, looking at the show notes, I'll give you the quick preview as I do every week. So, starting with Signal to UK, Apple capitulated, we won't. And you'll understand what I mean by that as we go into the story. I found it on Tech Radar. I just thought it was an interesting story. And more and more countries are trying very hard to invade our privacy. I think they all want to do that. So I thought it was a good story to start with. After that, I found kind of a follow-up story. I said, are foreign governments gaining control over America's free speech? And again, that has to do with countries passing laws to invade free speech or to stop free speech or to know what people are saying on their computers and phones. And our government wants to know if other countries are having an impact on the free speech of Americans because of this. So I thought it was a good follow-up story to the first one. And then what I consider, I guess, the big story of the week, Alexa Plus announced at Amazon 2025 devices event. I found that on Tom's Guide. So I figured let's go through that story. They had their big Amazon Alexa Plus event, and that seems to be the big thing for this week. So we'll go through that. After that, Joe Maring, he's a writer for Android Authority. I said Joe Maring is not a fan of the upcoming Nothing 3A Pro design, and he really doesn't like the design of this phone. And of course, we're all kind of excited for the 3A and 3A Pro, which is coming next Tuesday. So I thought that was an interesting story to start with. And there's a good chance I'll be getting one of those phones. I have the Nothing Phone 2, which I dearly love. And then I found the story. I didn't even know this. The next Galaxy A series phones are coming Sunday, March 2nd. So I gather I'm thinking that's going to be at MWC in Barcelona, which is just starting. And so the Galaxy A phones, which is the budget line for the Galaxies, they'll be announcing, I think, 4 of them. So we'll take a look at that on Android Authority also. And then I just thought this was an interesting story. Apple to invest heavily in the U.S. economy in the next few years. That's a story I found on NBC News. And lastly, I said move over Huawei Mate XT. Samsung's multi-fold phone slated for July. Found on Phone Arena. So those are the stories we'll check out tonight. Nothing new in the comments as yet. So we'll start with the first story. And of course, as you all know, if it's just me and no Ted and no Will, then it's going to be a quicker rather than a longer night. So, signal to UK. Apple capitulated. We won't. Let's go over to Tech Radar. And this was published yesterday by Chiara Castro. We will not walk back. Signal would rather leave the UK and Sweden than remove encryption protections, because the UK especially is trying hard to get them all to give them a back door. And no, they want to protect people's privacy. Signal comments on Apple's decision to kill its iCloud advanced encryption feature. So let's drop this into reader view and get rid of the ads. From the UK to Sweden, encrypted communications are increasingly under attack as authorities seek ways to better monitor people's chats and combat crime. So they want to know everything we're saying all the time, which a lot of us don't think they have the right to do that. But it seems like almost all countries are coming to that point. Signal, one of the best encrypted messaging apps, however, isn't willing to compromise its privacy and security. So good for them. Signal's position on this is very clear. We will not walk back, adulterate, or otherwise perturb the robust privacy and security guarantees that people depend on, said Signal President Meredith Whittaker during a panel at RightsCon 25 conference on Tuesday, February 25th. I didn't even know about the RightsCon conference. Whether that perturbation or backdoor is called client-side scanning or the stripping of the encryption protections from one or another feature similar to what Apple was pushed into doing in the UK. And we'll get to what happened with Apple. And I gave you that story, I think, last week. Whittaker's comments come days after Apple was forced to kill its iCloud's end-to-end encryption feature in the UK following a government's order to create an encryption backdoor to allow law enforcement access to users' data. So they're trying to force Apple to give them a backdoor. And Apple said, rather than give you a backdoor, we'll just kill our iCloud end-to-end encryption feature entirely in the UK. Sweden is also considering introducing a new law requiring all encrypted communications apps to create a similar backdoor. So they're going to try to force these companies to do this. And Signal is saying they're not going to do it, period. They'll just get out of your country. UK's attack on encryption. For almost a week, since Friday, February 21st, to be exact, people in the UK have been unable to use Apple's Advanced Data Protection, ADP, feature on iCloud, because that's where the encryption is. But if Apple turns it off in the UK, then they don't have to create a backdoor. I think that's what they're trying to accomplish. While it's not a default feature, Apple launched ADP in 2022 to provide an extra layer of protection on all iCloud stored data via end-to-end encryption technology. So since England doesn't want the encryption, they just got rid of the cloud. This means not even the provider can access these files. Yeah, once there's encryption, the only people who can read it are the person who created the encryption key or the person who has it to read it. The big tech giant removed the feature instead of complying with the UK's encryption backdoor order, ensuring this decision won't affect iCloud data categories that are end-to-end encrypted by default. These include users' health data, passwords, iCloud messages, and Apple Card transactions. You can see all the others on Apple's support page. As we have said many times before, we have never built a backdoor or master key of any kind to any of our products or services, and we never will, explained Apple in a written statement at the time. So that's why they took away the iCloud feature, because they don't want to put that backdoor in. However, it isn't yet clear the impact this move will have on users' privacy in and out of the country. What would happen when UK users go abroad, for instance? That's true. And what about foreign users traveling in the UK? Most importantly, perhaps, will removing ADP be enough for UK authorities? My guess is no, but I guess we'll find out at some point. These are some of the questions that still need an answer. For Signal, however, it isn't negotiable and ensures once again that the company is ready to leave the UK market instead of undermining encryption. Sweden and further anti-encryption efforts. The UK isn't the only country pushing to pick the lock of encrypted communications to facilitate criminal investigations. They all say they want to facilitate criminal investigations, but they think they have a right to read everything any of us say in any country. So I disagree with that, and so the Signal, obviously. And Brian's here. Glad you're here, Brian. You and Eleanor were the first ones in, at least as far as I know. So back to the article. Sweden has recently joined the list of governments considering passing legislation to make it mandatory for the likes of Signal, WhatsApp, and iMessage to create an encryption backdoor into their software. If successful, the new rules could come into force as early as March 2026. Again, talking to Swedish media SVT Nyheter, I guess that's how you say it, Nyheter. Whitaker has recently reiterated the company's stance. She said, "This means asking us to break the encryption that is the foundation of our entire business. Asking us to store data would undermine our entire architecture, and we would never do that. We would rather leave the Swedish market completely." So you got to give Signal a lot of credit. They're really taking a stand. This is because, Whitaker added, our responsibility is to offer technology that upholds human rights in an era where those rights are being violated in more and more places, and most of those places are some government organization around the world. Okay. Outside Sweden, the EU has also been trying to pass a proposal to scan citizens' private communications. Those encrypted included since 2022 to halt the spread of child sexual abuse. Yeah, and we've gone through that in the past. Deemed chat control by its critics, the bill keeps receiving pushback from experts and lawmakers alike, who couldn't yet find the compromise after almost 3 years and 2 lighter versions. In January, Europol's chief Catherine de Boll reiterated such efforts to break encryption, arguing anonymity is not a fundamental right. Well, some of us disagree with that. And technology giants have a social responsibility to give the police access to encrypted messages used by criminals, except how would they know which ones are the criminals using? That's ridiculous. At the same time, however, recent events like the Salt Typhoon attack on all the major U.S. telecoms have shown how encryption is crucial, that's right, for the privacy and safety of everyone's data. On that occasion, even FBI and CISA experts have been calling citizens to switch to encrypted services. So they're telling us to go the other way in the aftermath of this unprecedented cyber attack. What's next? Signal isn't alone among the tech community calling out on the campaign against encryption. For instance, a group of over 100 civil society organizations, tech companies, and cybersecurity experts have also been urging the UK government to rescind its order to Apple, warning how an iCloud backdoor jeopardizes the security and privacy of millions. I don't think the government officials care. The path to mitigate legal actions against encryption is certainly filled with challenges for privacy and tech experts. Yet, users can be reassured Signal is committed to fighting back. I guess the we is redundant. We'll continue to push back, said Whitaker, pointing out how incidents like Salt Typhoon are a tangible example of what cryptographers, human rights experts, journalists, and the technical community at large have been saying for decades. You cannot build a safe backdoor. I completely agree. She added, our position doesn't change. It doesn't change based on the year. It doesn't change based on the jurisdiction. It's actually fairly simple. So good for Signal for taking such a stance. So I'm sure we'll hear more about these type of stories as we continue to go on. And the next story that I've got kind of follows up on that. So nothing else new in the comments, so we're good. So I said, are foreign governments gaining control over America's free speech? And I found this article on CNBC. And this was from February 27th. Oh, so it's from yesterday also. House Judiciary Committee subpoenas Alphabet, Meta, other tech giants over foreign censorship of speech. I guess it's from yesterday, written by Annie Palmer. Pardon me. So let's drop into reader view. House Judiciary Chair Jim Jordan, Republican Ohio, sent subpoenas to 8 technology companies asking for more information about their communications with foreign governments over concerns that they seek to censor speech in the U.S. And yes, like Britain's backdoor into, let's say, Apple's iCloud, well, that would affect people in other countries, and probably they'd get their speech censored by the UK, even if they're not in the UK, if they had that backdoor. The subpoenas were sent Wednesday to the CEOs of Google parent Alphabet, Meta, Amazon, Apple, Microsoft, and TikTok, as well as X and video platform Rumble. The committee must understand how and to what extent foreign governments have limited Americans' access to lawful speech in the United States, as well as the extent to which the Biden-Harris administration aided or abetted these efforts, Jordan said in the statement. Because whatever they do in their country affects people in other countries, because we all have access to these same apps. CNBC reached out to each of the subpoenaed companies for comment. A spokesperson for Microsoft said the company is engaged with the panel and committed to working in good faith. A Rumble spokesperson said it has received a subpoena, and we look forward to sharing information related to the ongoing efforts of numerous governments around the globe who seek to suppress the innate human right to self-expression. Jordan pointed to the European Union's Digital Services Act, and we've gone over that a bunch of times, a similar set of laws in the UK, and this is where the UK's law is trying to affect Apple, called the Online Services Act, and regulations around illegal content and hate speech in Brazil and Australia. The committee is seeking communications around the company's compliance with foreign censorship laws, because foreign censorship laws affect people in America. Regulations, judicial orders, or other government-initiated efforts, and any internal correspondence discussing those matters. The subpoenas come after the Federal Trade Commission last week launched an inquiry into tech censorship. FTC Chair Andrew Ferguson said in a statement that the probe will help the agency better understand how these firms may have violated the law by silencing and intimidating Americans for speaking their minds. The FTC's request for public comment defines tech platforms as companies that provide a range of services from social media and video sharing to event planning and ride sharing. The Republican-led committee has previously accused major tech companies of censorship. The panel subpoenaed Alphabet, Meta, and other firms in 2023, demanding that they turn over communications between the companies and the U.S. government over censorship concerns. So we're going to be hearing more and more about this, like from both of these stories. So I just thought they were related and good to include this one. Okay, let me take a quick sip of my green tea. All right, on to the next story. And like, if anybody has a comment, just type it in and we'll discuss it a bit. All right, like I said, to me, this was the big event of the week, at least as far as I know. Alexa Plus announced that Amazon 2025 devices event. And I find this on Tom's Guide. I did not watch this event, but I think this pretty much gives us all the info. And the big thing was Alexa Plus. That was, I gather, like the whole event. 7 biggest Amazon event announcement you missed. Alexa Plus pricing, smart home upgrades, and more. So I think it's all related to Alexa Plus. By Mark Spoonhour, published 2 days ago. The new Alexa Plus does a lot more. And those of us with old Alexa, like Eleanor and myself, it's not going to affect us. And this is a subscription-based thing anyway. But you'll see that in a few minutes. All right, interreader view to get rid of the ads. Amazon has announced Alexa Plus along with a dizzying amount of news at the Amazon Alexa event today. This was 2 days ago. We've been following along on our Amazon Event Live blog, but if you're looking for a quick cheat sheet, you've come to the right place. Here are the 7 biggest announcements and demos from today's Amazon event. Alexa Plus is here. In a nutshell, Amazon Alexa Plus is Amazon's next generation assistant that's powered by generative AI. The assistant is a lot more conversational and can have flowing conversations with you, like all the others at this point. See, Brian says, Signal get credit for giving these governments the KMA. So absolutely. Couldn't agree more, Brian. I'm very proud of them. I hope the others stand up the way they are. Alexa Plus can learn from you the more you use it. And of course, yes, the more you use it, and of course, the more they're collecting on you. Let's remember that. Getting to know your preferences around entertainment, food, and more. The most important Alexa Plus upgrade is that it can do things on your behalf, including everything from study help to ordering groceries. For example, you could say, I need everything for banana bread except the spices, and Alexa Plus will build out your shopping list. Be AI savvy with your weekly newsletter, summing up all the biggest AI news you need to know, plus analysis from our AI editor and tips on how. I think that might be just an ad from them, sorry. Okay, you can also use Alexa Plus to watch for lower price tickets to a baseball game and let you know when the price drops below a certain point. That's handy. Alexa Plus will work with third parties via AI agents. So you could tell Alexa that your oven isn't working and it will return a list of repair services. Alexa would then contact them via Thumbtack. Alexa Plus pricing and availability. The bad news is that Alexa Plus costs $19.99 per month. The good news is that it's free for Amazon Prime members. Alexa Plus will start rolling out in the U.S. in the next few weeks. Alexa Plus device support. We have bad news. Yeah, so here's where none of my devices, none of Eleanor's devices will work with Alexa Plus. Anyone with a smartphone will be able to access the new Alexa Plus via a new Alexa app. So yeah, your phone will. But when it comes to smart home device support, the service is very limited. Amazon says that only households with the Amazon Echo Show 8, 10, 15, and 21. That means, at least for now, Alexa Plus will be off limits for any devices that don't have a display, such as Echo speakers and the Echo Dot. And all I have is the Echo Dot, and Ellen just has the original speaker. Alexa Plus and Smart Home. Alexa Plus has a ton of smart home capabilities built in. You can create new routines just by using your voice without having to use the app. Yeah, you used to always have to use the app. You can also use Alexa Plus to discover what music to listen to next, or say something like play the music everywhere but don't wake the baby. So Alexa will know not to play in the nursery. That's pretty smart. If you happen to have a Ring subscription, Alexa Plus can provide a quick summary of detected camera events. You can even ask specific questions like, when was the last time the dog went out for a walk? That's pretty good. Alexa Plus can be your second brain. I don't know that I want it to be my second brain. You'll be able to share a wide range of documents with Alexa Plus so it can extract and recall info for you. And yeah, it's still collecting stuff about you. Those documents could be anything from emails and manuals to family recipes and study materials. Don't have time to read all the emails from your kid's school? You can ask questions like, do I need to bring anything to the school fundraiser? I guess that's handy. Alexa Plus for kids. There's 2 Alexa Plus features designed for kids. The first is Explore with Alexa. Kids can ask all sorts of questions around various topics, including geography, biology, and more. Then there's Stories with Alexa. Amazon's assistant can help you create stories on the fly. For example, Alexa create a story about a bearded dragon that plays a saxophone. And his was smart. As a parent, though, I'd be wary of letting Alexa make up stories without me being in the room. And I would be wary of it using the Explore with Alexa, too, without me being in the room. Alexa Plus will work with services like OpenTable and Uber. Alexa Plus will work with multiple services behind the scenes to get stuff done for you. You'll be able to make a dinner reservation via OpenTable or book an Uber for a friend to meet you for lunch. Amazon announced a preview of the new Alexa AI multi-agent SDK that will let brands showcase their agent alongside Alexa. Think of it as the new Alexa Skills. It sounds very much like Skills. So I won't be subscribing to it because I don't have any of the speakers with a screen. Maybe I'll end up using it on my phone. I don't know. But it's a $19.99 subscription unless you're a Prime member. And I just stopped my Prime membership a month ago, something like that. Anyway, interesting stuff. And like I said, to me, it was kind of the big announcement of the week. So nothing else new in the comments. So we will go on to the next story. Looks like it's going to be a quick night, folks. Okay. Like I said, the Nothing 3A is coming out next Tuesday, the 4th. So I thought this was very apropos to have this story. So Joe Marion, he's the one who wrote the story, is not a fan of the upcoming Nothing 3A Pro design on Android Authority. So this is from the 24th, so 4 days ago. He wrote, "This may be one of the ugliest Android phones I've ever seen. Nothing who hurt you." And Joe's a very good writer, has been for years. So I just thought it'd be an interesting story to see why he says this. So that's what the 3A Pro will look like. Android phones are no stranger to bizarre designs. Whether it's the LG Wing, yeah, that was kind of bizarre, the Yotta phone, or the Samsung Galaxy S4 Zoom, we've seen some truly strange Android handsets over the years, and I love it. That variety is a large part of what makes covering Android so fun, and creativity from smartphone brands is never a bad thing. The Nothing Phone 3A series is set to launch on March 4th, but ahead of that, we've got multiple in-depth design lists we have for both the Nothing Phone 3A and the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. The former looks like a standard upgrade to the Nothing Phone 2A, featuring a slightly longer camera bar to accommodate a third camera sensor. The Nothing Phone 3A Pro, meanwhile, has a design I simply can't wrap my head around. What do you think about the Nothing 3A Pro's design? What am I, they took a poll there, I guess. What am I looking at? Let's start with the elephant in the room, the camera bump, and you can see it here. The last few years have given us a myriad of smartphone camera designs. Some have been fantastic, others not so much, and some have been downright bad. The Nothing Phone 3A Pro may be the ugliest I've ever seen. And I'm thinking that's probably the one I'm going to get. It all starts with a giant circle, and you can see it down here to a degree. One that seemingly takes up a very large portion of the phone's backside. At the top of the circle is at the top of the circle is an LED flash, which you see here. Below it is an 8-megapixel ultra-wide camera, and the 50-megapixel primary camera is directly beneath. So I guess it's this and this. On paper, there's nothing out of the ordinary here, but it's the way everything's arranged that makes it so off-putting. I don't hate it, but he really does, I guess. The ultra-wide and primary cameras are symmetrical, which I think are these two, but the LED flash sits at an odd diagonal from them. Yeah, I guess like that. The telephoto camera breaks the mold of circular sensors for the other cameras with an oval shape. Yeah, there it is there. Not to mention the random rectangle jutting out from the right, this rectangle here. There's also all of this wasted space in the bottom 1/3 of the camera circle. I guess he considers this a lot of wasted space, I guess. The periscope telephoto camera demands more physical space, that's true. But one of the leaked and seemingly official teaser videos shows its components tucked inside that unsightly rectangle. He really doesn't like that. So why is the camera bump so big? I'm okay with a larger camera design if the camera tech demands it, but that's pretty clearly not the case for the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. But you know, Carl Pei likes to make things distinct, and I guess he did. The camera design sure is something. Maybe I'll get used to this camera layout after a few more days. Perhaps I'll change my mind once I see it in person. But from where I'm sitting right now, I'm having a hard time believing that. I rarely look at a phone and think it's genuinely ugly, but that's the reaction I'm having with the Nothing Phone 3A Pro. Then there's the rest of the phone. While a transparent design is nothing new for Nothing, something about the approach for the Nothing Phone 3A Pro feels off. The Nothing Phone 2's backside was predominantly taken up by its wireless charging coil, that's true, which was smartly outlined with its glyph lights. It had a nice focal point to the phone and was complemented nicely by the other visible components above it and below it. I agree, I have that phone. The Nothing Phone 2A struck a nice balance too. It was a busy design between the small and cute camera bump, the swirling coil, and the small red square, but it felt intentional and complete. The Nothing Phone 3A Pro appears to be the opposite of that. Beyond the camera design, the rest of the phone's backside looks like a bunch of parts thrown together with no clear meaning. So I guess here, he really doesn't like what he's saying here, I guess. Previous Nothing phones felt intentional in their transparent covers, but that doesn't come through with the Nothing Phone 3A Pro, at least not for me. There's a big difference between bold, meaningful design and throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I think all Nothing phones up to this point have struck that first balance really well, but the Nothing Phone 3A Pro is going 10 steps too far, and I'm not a fan. A divisive phone, if nothing else. Smartphone design and design in general is highly subjective. What looks good to you might look terrible to me. Yeah, I don't find it all that ugly, but it doesn't bother me at all. The beauty of Android is that we have so much to choose from. Whether you like the familiar aesthetics of the Samsung Galaxy S25, the blue vegan leather of the OnePlus 13, or the Nothing Phone 3a Pro's messy industrial design, there's a phone out there for all of us. And if you just chuck your phone in a case and never look at it again, then none of this matters. At least right about that, I guess. I hope the Nothing Phone 3a Pro is a success. I hope it's a contender for one of the best budget phones of the year. But if these leaked renders turn out to be true, it's going to have to check every box possible for me to get over its looks. So as I said, he really doesn't like the looks of this phone. That is the top part of it again. I guess this is the part he hates the most. But it seems like he really dislikes everything about this phone. So I just thought it was kind of a cute article, and I have a lot of respect for his opinion. He's been doing this a long time. I think Joe is probably mid to late 20s because I started following him some up when he was like still in high school. I remember that. So he's been at this a while. So anyway, I just thought it was a good story. Another swig of my green tea. And no Ted and no Will, so it's just me. All right, moving on. I didn't know this until I found the story yesterday. Next Galaxy A series phones coming Sunday, March 2nd. This is on Android Authority. Samsung confirms new Galaxy A series phones are coming next week. Update date. And so I guess it has to be an MWC because that's just starting, I guess, Sunday. Expect to see the Galaxy A26, A36, and A56 next week. Now, of course, I have the A36, which I had with to work with me, but I'm guessing this is an updated A36, I assume. And this A36 right now is the only Samsung phone I have because I did not go for the Ultra or any of the S25s. So this was 2 days ago by Hadley Simmons. So let's drop it into reader view. Well, there's an update right at the top 2 days ago. Samsung's website for registering your interest in the Galaxy A series specifies that the launch is happening on March 2nd, which is Sunday. Original article. Samsung's Galaxy A series of phones don't have the most horsepower or the best cameras for the price, but they're well-rounded, widely available, cheap Android phones. We've been inspecting new devices for a while now, and the company has finally confirmed launch details. Samsung India has announced that 3 new Galaxy A series phones are coming next week. The company said that 2 of these devices will be successors to the Galaxy A35 and A55, meaning the A36 and A56. I guess mine will be updated. However, leaks suggest that we'll also see the Galaxy A26. Samsung also posted a video seen at the top of the page, and it's nothing special, trust me, teasing the arrival of the new phones. The clip notes that these devices will come with 6 OS upgrades, which I guess is good for budget phones, and also hints at a focus on durability and security. The Galaxy A56 is expected to be the most capable model, and it's tipped to offer an Exynos 1580 chip, a 50 megapixel, 12 megapixel, 5 megapixel rear camera trio, and a 5,000 milliamp battery. However, the phone is also said to offer 45-watt wired charging speeds, which would put the standard Galaxy S25 to shame. So I guess that doesn't charge at 45. Either way, 6 years of OS upgrades would be a major feather in Samsung's cap, as most of its mid-range rivals fall well short of this commitment. That's true. So those who want a cheap phone with long-term updates should wait until next week. So just a short one, but I guess look for an announcement sometime Sunday about the new A series phones. Like I said, I'm guessing that it's going to be at MWC, but maybe it'll be in India. I don't know. But there are always people looking for the more budget-friendly A line, so good for those who are, and that's why I have mine. All right, let's see. And Brian said no to Alexa doing things on my behalf. Yeah, I'm the same, Brian, because it's like now they want way too much information about you, and you know they're collecting every single tidbit. And once you have that, it's going to be every time you open your mouth, they're going to be collecting something about you. So I'm with Brian there. All right. My Apple story for the week. And this is just, I think a lot of this is because they're all trying to get on the good side of Trump. And I think Apple's doing it too. Apple to invest heavily in the U.S. economy in the next few years. And they've been talking this way for a while now, but you'll see that in the story. And I found this on NBC News. Apple boosts U.S. investment plans with $500 billion pledge amid Trump tariff threat. The tech giant said it plans to accelerate its spending in the U.S. while aiming to open a new server factory in Houston in 2026. And that's good. Some people in Houston will get some jobs. And this was from 4 days ago. And by Rob Weil and Steve Kopak. Let's drop into read view. Apple on Monday reaffirmed a commitment to invest hundreds of billions of dollars in the U.S. over the coming years amid pressure from President Donald Trump and the growing threat of his tariffs. The tech giant said it planned to spend $500 billion over the next 5 years in the United States with intentions to hire 20,000 new workers and produce AI servers. And you'll see in the story, they've kind of ongoing been saying this kind of stuff for a few years about the amount of money they're willing to spend. The plans include a server factory in Houston, slated to open in 2026, and a manufacturing academy in Detroit. That's interesting. The company also said data centers in Arizona, California, Iowa, Nevada, North Carolina, Oregon, and Washington would see expansions from in the investment plans. That's good, assuming they follow up. Monday's move is Apple's latest splashy announcement about investing in the United States, making it an acceleration of existing plans. So, I think this kind of announcement is more to prove to Trump that they're going along with him more than anything else. The company announced in 2021 that it was planning to invest $430 billion domestically over the next 5 years. So this is kind of a rolling thing. In 2018, during Trump's first term, Apple said it would make a $350 billion contribution to the American economy over a stretch of 5 years. So yeah, this is just rolling along every few years, including the creation of 20,000 jobs. Apple also confirmed Monday that an Arizona-based Taiwan semiconductor manufacturing facility, that's TSMC, which began development under the Biden administration, had started producing chips for it there. News that media had previously reported. Yeah, they started producing chips, I think, first for Apple like a few months ago. Trump sought to take credit for the latest announcement and seemed to tip it last week shortly after meeting with Apple CEO Tim Cook and implied the trade duties he has threatened on a host of imports played a role. They don't want to be in the tariffs, Trump said last week, adding that Cook had halted plans to build 2 facilities in Mexico. That's good, I guess. An assertion Apple has not confirmed. In a Truth Social post Monday, Trump cited faith in what we are doing as the reason for Apple's announcement. Well, we hope. In a note to investors, analysts at UBS cast some doubt about whether Apple can actually deploy $500 billion in the U.S. in the time frame it laid out, citing the company's overwhelming reliance on suppliers outside the U.S. That's true. and the fact that it has historically lagged other large tech firms in making large capital expenditures. So they're seeing it as trumpeting stuff, but maybe not following through. I don't know. While the headline figure on the surface is a large number, we believe it lacks substance at this juncture based on history, the analyst wrote. Apple's playbook for avoiding tariffs appears to track closely with its strategy during the first Trump administration, when it allowed the president to take credit for a plant it had been making that had made Mac computers in Texas for at least 3 years before he took office, but they let him have the credit anyway. Brian, thank you as always, sir. You're always very faithful. Very much appreciate you. Like other products Apple makes in the United States or says it intends to, the Mac made in Texas is not one of its mainstream models. Apple's key revenue-generating products, like the iPhone, are still manufactured outside the country. Apple and Tim Cook have also gone a step further in Trump's second term, both donating to Trump's inauguration fund. Yeah, they all did. Cook attended Trump's swearing-in ceremony on Capitol Hill. I think they all did again. Apple said the new jobs it plans to hire for will primarily be related to research and development, engineering, and AI. It also said it plans to expand investment in existing advanced manufacturing funds. Again, will they or won't they? I don't know. Sounds good, though. We are bullish on the future of American innovation, and we're proud to build on our longstanding U.S. investments with this $500 billion commitment to our country's future, Cook said in a statement. And we'll keep working with people and companies across this country to help write an extraordinary new chapter in the history of American innovation. Yeah, they're definitely trying to please Trump. Apple shares were little changed in early Monday trading. So it'll be interesting to see if they follow up on this. But I guess they're making the right moves and saying the right things. So nothing else new other than Brian's generous donation. So down to my last story. And since the Huawei Mate X has been out a little while, I think it only got released worldwide like a week and a half ago. But I said, move over Huawei Mate XT. Samsung's multi-phone slated for July. I found this on Phone Arena. New report puts Samsung's first multi-fold phone on a track for a limited July release by Adrian Diaconescu, who writes a lot of their articles, and this was from 4 days ago. Let's drop into reader view, and this will be my last story of the night. If you're not that excited about the Galaxy Z Fold 7 and Z Flip 7, after so many recent reports suggesting Samsung's next conventional foldables might look a lot like their predecessors, maybe the more unconventional device expected to come out at the same time will elicit a more enthusiastic reaction from you. Samsung's July Unpacked event could be more crowded than ever. It may feel weird to discuss an unpacked shindig just a month after the previous ceremony, that's true. But let's be honest, we all know this is going to take place in the summer and introduce the world to the Galaxy Z Fold 6 and Z Flip 6's potential repetitive sequel. So they're not expecting much to change, I guess. What's not etched in stone yet is when Samsung's first multi-fold smartphone will be formally unveiled and commercially released. But the rumor mill rumblings are more and more clearly and reliably calling for a July launch alongside the aforementioned Z Fold 7 and Z Flip 7. Yes, we might be just a few short months away from Samsung's Galaxy G Fold unpacking. Expected by some to be named Galaxy G Fold, this Huawei Mate XT rival of sorts is apparently targeting a mass production start at the exact same time as the Galaxy Z Flip 7 and Z Fold 7, which would all but guarantee a simultaneous release by the end of July. Of course, it's a much more complicated phone to make, though. Of course, one of these devices is not like the others, and following an undoubtedly trickier development process, that's what I meant, its manufacturing could prove a lot more challenging as well. So yeah, they're saying it would come out at the end of July with the others, and maybe, maybe not. Depends on how tricky this thing is to make. As such, it shouldn't be surprising to hear that Samsung is purportedly planning to produce and release only around 200,000 of these Galaxy G Fold units to begin with. Is that a disappointing number? Maybe a little. Not for something so new, I don't think. But it's certainly not a shockingly low one considering the inherently experimental nature, that's right, of this device and a price point I'd rather not try to guess for the time being. Well, since we know the price of the Mate XT from Huawei is $3,000, I'm going to say this can't be any less than $3,000. That's my guess. Much like the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition, pardon me, the tech giant's rookie trifold effort is likely to see daylight only in some countries. That's probably true. And although these are not currently named, I have a sneaking suspicion they're located on the Asian continent. Could be. One huge screen, one pretty big external display, and what else? In terms of what we know about the so-called Galaxy G Fold, about how the so-called Galaxy G Fold will look and operate, today's report reiterates a few previously rumored tidbits and little else of substance. Specifically, it feels almost certain already that the first-of-a-kind phone will come with a gargantuan 9.96-inch primary display and a pretty large 6.49-inch secondary panel too. And I guess those are renders. That would kind of make the product more a tablet than a smartphone, at least in its completely unfolded form. Yeah, it's like 10 inches. The nearly 10-inch screen, mind you, will be capable of folding inwards twice, thus staying protected from scratches and the outside damage when not in use. So yeah, when you have it folded, both screens will be protected on the inside. That's a different functional approach from what Huawei has done with the Mate XT. Yeah, the Huawei one has that one screen that's always exposed, which folds inward once and outward once. While the Galaxy G Fold's form factor is essentially guaranteed to help with the durability, the downside is that the gadget needs a separate screen on the outside, which will apparently be borrowed from the Galaxy Z Fold Special Edition and shared with the Galaxy Z Fold 7. That would make sense. That will in turn add to Samsung's production costs. Yeah, no way this is going to be less than $3,000. It's going to be probably well above that, I would guess. So you can definitely expect the company's first trifold, double folding, multi-fold device to carry a higher retail price than the already pretty extravagant Huawei Mate XT. Yeah, so it's got to be more than $3,000. Unfortunately, no other specs or features are known or credibly rumored at the moment. Although to help with thinness and lightness, the experimental product is expected to do without the Z Fold's digitizer, just like the Z Fold 7, and thus lack S Pen support. Yeah, that would just add to the price anyway. So I just thought it was interesting that they're going to try to give the Huawei Mate XT some competition, which kind of tells me the Mate XT for a $3,000 phone must be kind of doing okay, I guess. So just very, very interesting. I won't be buying that phone from Samsung, but if you can afford it, that's fine with me. And of course, it's a first generation device, so something that complicated, I'll give it to the people who have the money to take that chance. So that's all I've got for tonight, folks. I hope you enjoyed the stories. I hope you learned something from me by picking stories that you may not have heard in other places. And glad you were here. Sorry Ted couldn't make it, or Will, or Mike, but you never know when they're going to come in, especially Ted. So, as always, let's see. Triphonus TGH. Yeah, it's going to be way too expensive, I think. So I will be back next week, as always, and I'm very, very appreciative of you guys who came in. Thanks for coming by. Thanks for being so faithful. And I hope everybody has a very blessed and wonderful weekend. And we'll see you next week. And let's all keep in mind we all do better when we love each other. Good night, folks.